I know a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy. That's been my life. Deal making, referral services, picking the right horse, picking the right referral. Have I made mistakes? Damn right I have. But guess what? In 1975, I started a business card collection as I met people in my career. I was in sales. So we had a Rolodex. You know what a Rolodex is? It's an actual device. You probably don't know what it is. Today it's digital. But I've gone through so many different changes and so many different products and services, but I kept those people in my digital CRM. And basically I've had a 50-year career of doing deals. That's the reason why I trademarked the deal flow guy. That's right. I trademarked the deal flow guy. What I've been doing? I'm doing deals. And I'm referring people. And people ask me, Rock, who do you know? I know a guy that knows a woman that knows this, that knows that. And the first question is, well, Rock, how do you get paid? I get paid when I do a deal. First of all, I got to accept the deal. And then I have a contract, a written contract that needs to be written. I don't take every deal. And even if I refer a deal, I don't know what the outcome is, and I don't know if the so-called requester is even, sophisticated enough to do the right thing. There's bad deals too. There's bad clients. And then if you get represented by a bad referral, it's my reputation. I'm always worried about my reputation. And I do my due diligence over the years. When I was referred to somebody, oh, Rock, this is a good attorney, or this is a good source, or this is a potential client. Well, guess what I do now? I really do my due diligence because I trust people. I trust people that refer me that this might be a potential deal. Well, now at my age, at 70 plus, I don't go chase anymore. There's no need for me to chase deals, because there's always a fallout of some sort, you know? And how many deals really consummate? You know what I mean? How many actually deals, as they say in court, over 99% of deals settle before it goes to trial, before it goes to a judge. Of course. It's always about negotiation. And I believe every deal could be negotiated. Every transaction, there's a compromise, you see? You know, they say Trump is the best negotiator in this time and age in the world. Why? He's cutting deals, and everything's got to be a compromise, and it's got to be a win-win. And that's what I've been doing all my life. It's either if I'm buying something, selling something, in the last 25 years, I've represented buyers and sellers. Many times, both the buyer and the seller, I'm a matchmaker. I put them together. But I like representing the buyer because you never know if the seller is being honest or if the seller is being transparent with their intentions and their expectations. Today's buyers are very sophisticated. They're very strategic. They know what they want. They know value. And everything's based on margin. The baby boomers of today are the founders and the sellers of the business, especially I've been in the printing business and converting business for 50 years. That's my specialty. I'm turning my car on. I'm in Florida. So I just wanted to say that I've had a hell of a ride. And the last couple of weeks I've been referring out brokers because I'm really at the point where I facilitate for private equity. And business is tough right now. It's very uncertain. It's very difficult. The last 5 years of my career, from 65, 66, and through 70, that's when I hit all my goals. And once I hit my goals, I said, that's it. I've done what I had to do. All my bills, paid all my suppliers. And I have great contractors. Very loyal, very sharp. They know the game. They're high value people, and they're 20 years younger than me, which I love. And I'm going to pass on all my referrals to them. It's not going to stop for me. It's not going to stop for me. But I think the business brokerage business and the M&A advisor business has changed a lot. I was very fortunate that I think my biggest value was confidentiality. I kept my deals very quiet, didn't really share. I kept everything very quiet, very secret, you see? Discreet, confidential. And that's so important. In private equity, in the printing industry, for an example, there might be 3,000 label printers in the United States. And maybe 10% of them are good. The other 90% are more of a commodity. You really have to specialize. And in the private equity group, there might be 20,000 buyers out there. But there's A players, B players, and C players. And who do I deal with? A players. Then after a deal is done, it probably takes, I've had relationships with people for decades. Grandfathers, fathers, children, wives, and everyone's got a different idea. And private equity, a lot of turnover, a lot of investors, because they only care about what we call margins, return on investment. And it's a 3, 5, or 7 year turn. And it's getting tougher and tougher. And it really messes up the industry. And I see, my mind here is, you don't need a broker. You don't need an M&A advisor. What you need is a team, what we call it a sell team and a buy team. And what's a buy team and a sell team? There's a strategy, there's an attorney, tax advisor, maybe a real estate advisor, insurance, and I always include therapists. And if you have more than one equity position, there might be disgruntled people. And what about what the buyer's buying? The buyer's buying a company that's got potential, that grew it. The former buyer or the seller grew it to something, and now there's a reason why they're exiting. There's always an exit plan. People don't realize that. And most unsophisticated sellers really don't know what they want. And sometimes they die at the wheel, or they pass it on to the kids without a really good succession plan, or tax advisors. I mean, there's multiple reasons why people win and people fail. And I've always emphasized a win-win. Most sellers want to maximize their sell price, okay? And they really don't understand many times that they could blow up a deal. And here's the other thing. 70% of deals never get to the finish line, maybe more, okay? I like dealing with very sophisticated buyers because they know what they want. They have a strategy. They have a game plan. They're looking at multiple deals. And the biggest thing that they have is who's going to operate the business. Like my son says, he goes, Dad, it's easy to sell a business or even to buy a business. What's hard is to grow a business. People underestimate that. And what else happens in my world is I have a buyer and a seller. It might take a year to sell. It might take, 2 to 3 years to develop those relationships. So, it might take 2 or 3 years before it's even in position to sell. And then you find the right match, the right strategic buyer. It could be a financial buyer. It could be a strategic buyer. And then the biggest problem is who's going to run it? Is it the existing people at the seller, or do you have to reshape the culture, which is tremendous? A lot of work to do. Means you got to get new talent. The facilities, the CapEx, and I'm not going to get into anything detailed. I'm just saying, it takes money, man. It takes money, it takes talent, it takes experience. Okay, and I always confide in 3 things, and I actually have a download in my on my website about trust. They call it the 3 T's. Trust between the buyer and the seller is very important if they like each other during the discussions. Deals are done over at a restaurant. And most people know each other because they're in the industry. I'm talking about strategic buyers. And strategic buyers are the best because they know exactly the situation. They know exactly the situation of whether to buy a company or not buy a company. And the second T is transparency. Once you get that LOI, then you get into the transparency of looking at all the numbers, looking at all the facts, making sure that everything is in order. That includes lawyers, that includes finance. I mean, it's very sophisticated. And it takes, 6 to 9 months to go through that process. And then the seller is very anxious because a lot of them are already emotionally saying it's sold. Well, what happens if there's a hiccup and they find out that there's a liability or there's a claim or there's a environmental problem or you lost your top people or the non-compete doesn't exist or you lost a major customer. I mean, there's so much stuff that could happen over 6 to 9 months. And then the lawyers get involved and there could be post-transaction, there could be liability. Yeah. It's just not over. It's just not over. I've seen people get sued after an acquisition. Usually with the brokers, because the brokers, business brokers, they only care about the sale. And a lot of sellers don't realize they picked the wrong broker. I don't believe you need a broker in today's world. Buyers don't have brokers. They're looking for finders. They're looking for people like me that, Rock, who do you know that knows a guy that knows a guy that knows a guy? Or Rock, we're looking at this target. Could you introduce us to them? And I've actually walked away saying, no, you don't want to do that. This is the reputation. You got to be careful because I have to be well known that I referred the right deal. And I do deals internationally. I've done deals overseas just because of the connection, because they trusted me. Rock, can you introduce us to this or these companies or this converter or whatever? And now I'm at the point in my life that I'm passing this on. I'm passing this on. Get referrals or requests. Rock, who do you know? I'm not in that game anymore because that game it could be really nasty because everybody wants a piece of the pie. You know what a piece of the pie means? It means professional fees. And some people that's all they will do is for the fees. This is what I like about people that are well established, have experience, are very professional, and the money's not the issue. It's the integrity of the deal because there's too many risks involved to do the wrong thing. So I'm giving you a heads up. I'm giving you a heads up that you got to be really careful. You got to be really careful on doing your deals. So that's what I'm going to be talking about is how to transfer my business to somebody that has integrity and loves to hunt. You know what hunt means? Salespeople know what hunt is. But you got to develop a relationship. You got to have, and I've traveled, I got over 2 million miles on Delta alone. But I used to chase deals. Then you find out that people aren't being honest. So I would actually go to a deal, get a forced signature. And I was too naive because I thought I could trust people. Now, I don't take on anybody. And I've been in the game a long time, so I know who to trust and who not to trust. And there's very few. As they say, as you get older, you only have a few friends that you can trust. Well, that's what it's like in business. There's only a few friends. And most of my mentors and my key referrals are either retired or dead. Yeah. So that's why they call me the deal flow guy. The deal flow guy, my marketing strategist, Anna, she termed that for me. And she didn't understand what I did until we started working on a website. She goes, Rock, you're the deal flow guy. I says, I like that. Because private equity and advisors, they know what deal flow is. Deal flow are deals. What deals do you have? And I would be very, very specific of who to put together. And sellers usually don't realize that. They think they go to a traditional broker, or they go to a generalist, or they go to an attorney, or their friend that's a CPA, or a buddy that heard this deal happen. It doesn't happen that way anymore. And most people, especially Main Street is very difficult. You're paying 10, 12% on these deals. And and everything, as I mentioned, is negotiable. Most sellers do not get to the finish line. And they sign these contracts and it just locks you in, man, and you have no flexibility. That's why I believe today's world, you could do your own deals. You could do your own deals. I've done 2 deals, actually 3 deals on my own that I just sold the business myself. And I went to a competitor. Why did I go to a competitor? Because it made sense. That's the other word I like to use. It makes sense. SENCE. So that's what I want to talk about today, because people don't realize that white-collar workers are getting laid off left and right. And they could have spent 20, 30, 40 years in a career that went nowhere. Now it's laid off. You get a pink slip. Somebody else comes in, cheaper, less cost. But at the end of the day, it takes 2-3 years, maybe even longer, to get to that point of success. And when people get let go that have relationships for 20, 30 years, it changes. Everything changes. Today, a purchasing agent is on Wi-Fi. They're on internet. And they're young. And they know nothing about the business. They were just told by a purchase order to order 20,000 more of these without investigating. And guess what they talk about? It's about price. Do we pay the same price? It's a commodity. It's a commodity. Where I specialized in was everything was customized. Everything was specialized. And it was very low key. As I mentioned, very discreet, very quiet. And I learned more about these deals because I would go to every trade show. I'd go to the trade shows. I'd write for the industry magazines for 15 years. I got articles. I've got deals. I've got awards. Doesn't matter. At the end of the day, it's your reputation. That's what it is. It's your reputation. And now people are still calling me after the death, this is true, after the death of the husband or the death of the founder. Rock, who do you know? I got a story for you. In Minnesota, I've known advisor, the buyer, the seller. The buyer and the seller hated each other for many, many years. Many, many years. They hated each other. I couldn't believe it that these guys were in business for over 20 years and they hated each other. But they had a 50-50 deal. They had no exit plan except death because neither one would let go. Well, here, one of them passed away, and it was in independent living, and he had a black book. And I never knew the daughter or the 2 kids. And I was told by their advisor, the business advisor of the couple that just couldn't communicate well, that there was a Post-it. There was a Post-it involved in one of the black books, his directory. And the Post-it said, if something happens to me, call LaManna. I got the call. They invited me to the services, the funeral, and I traveled. I traveled for that in honor because he trusted me, I trusted him, but I never did a deal with them. But I knew someday they were going to sell, which they did. And I went to the funeral, and there were cops all over the place. I'm like, what are the cops here for? Here they had a, what do you call that? Not a cease and desist, but where you got to have restraining order. That's what. They had a restraining order on the partner not to attend the services of the family. Wow. That's nasty shit, man. That's nasty shit. And eventually, I found the buyer for that company. Yeah. And I only represented the buyer. because I knew I couldn't trust the seller. And it was nasty. They had lawyers involved. It was terrible. But that's what happens. I could count on, of all my 50 years of business experience, I've only had 3 deals that I believe that the founder respected the employees that built the company, that they basically gave some type of gift to the employees. Only 3. And I've done hundreds of deals over those 50 years. Sad stuff, man. Sad stuff. But just like anything else, you have to invest in yourself, invest in your business, invest in everything you do to do the right thing. That's the bottom line. And now I am so proud of my reputation and background. Oh, the people that don't like me, there's no doubt in my mind. It's jealousy and envy. No doubt. No doubt. But you know what? I'm going to cut deals. I'm still cutting deals. The deal flow guy is going to transfer to someone somehow. And I will work with them to be successful, because I have no fear of having my sources that I worked with, because they made me successful, the mentors I had. And I am so proud I worked with a lot of entrepreneurs that left the company eventually when we were in our 20s and 30s, and they started their own business. And now these families are second generation, third generation. Yeah. So that entrepreneur spirit is unbelievable. It's an unbelievable high. Yeah, it's tough. You got to be gritty, and it's almost like, I feel like I'm a workaholic. I love what I do, and I'm pumped up about it. I'm pumped up, but I want to pass it on to others. I got a friend in Vietnam. We're working on a couple deals. He calls me Uncle Rock, because it's respectful. And I call him Mini Rock, Mini, Mini Rock. Why? I see myself in him. How hungry, how he's going to go for it. He's a man of integrity. I could just see it. And the way he approached me and the way we got involved, I says, wow, man, it's beautiful. He invested in himself to learn something from me. And I'm in Vietnam at the time. I knew nothing of this gentleman. Nothing. Then he started putting me together to his mentors. And then I said, listen, you got to be real careful. These people, you might trust them now, but make sure you get everything in writing on deals. If there's promises, the only way you have a promise consummated today is in writing. Forget this verbal, oral commitments. It never works, believe me, including family. It's like a marriage. You could sign a contract for a marriage and there's a divorce. Somebody breached the contract. That's what it is. Forget the religion. It's the state. You're married, you're married. When you buy a home, both names are on that home, or whatever transaction, there's a promise. But at the end of the day, when there's a breakup, it's negotiated. Understand? And then when you get attorneys involved, guess what happens? You pay a lot of money to just negotiate your own deal. And through experience, you could pay the attorneys more than you could pay your ex-spouse. Oh yeah. That's how bad it is. So, I think Trump's book is called what? The Art of the Deal or something like that? Well, believe me, I understand negotiations, but you have to know what you want, and you have to realize it's a compromise. Everything's a compromise. And you negotiate, and sometimes you need to walk away from deals. And this is the other thing that I've learned over the last 5 years, is learn how to say no. Because the more you say no, a yes comes up. And when that yes comes up, that's another commitment. So we talk about focus, we talk about prioritize, you talk about discipline, you talk about patience. Those are all the things that people talk about, except one thing that I learned when I was very young with baby boomers, the greatest generation, I should say. They say, Rock, I was lucky. I was blessed. I was lucky. They give God the credit. And that's what I say. That's what I see. I've been lucky. I've been blessed. Sure, there's times when I think, God, I'm smart. No, but I don't have any regrets. So it's my role now to pass whatever tools that I have on. So there will be a deal flow guy. And I am more interested in working with somebody where I could consult, I could work with them, and we have our value system set. Not just throw it out there and here's the deal. No. And I have people in mind. But it's a very unique deal because you're really on your own. I don't have a team of business brokers. You know what I mean? I'm very specialized, one deal a year, whatever. And I nurture those deals. I nurture them. So that's kind of my role now that I'm in my 70s is to pass it on. And that's one of the reasons why I'm on YouTube, because how else can you explain this? Because my competition, for an example, it's over. It's over because they know financially it was all for finance from them. It's all finance. Me, no. It's a success of the buyer in the future. The seller, they could go only so far. And usually the seller doesn't have a post-transaction idea what they're going to do. They don't even know if they're going to retire. They just want to collect their money. And I've seen death. I've seen dementia. I've seen alcohol. I've seen divorce. I've seen family breakups of estates. I've seen all this shit. Oh, yeah. And my parents, I'm one of 11 kids, and we're all alive. From my brother's 79 all the way down to 60. We're still there. My dad's 100. And you know what it comes down to was integrity. Doing the right thing. Being a person of integrity. My dad's got an unbelievable reputation. And over 100 descendants. That's right. I'm proud of our family, of what we, let's say, achieved and accomplished. So, it's kind of my message is let's rock and roll. But the deal flow guy is done. In my own mind, I'm a Hall of Famer. My competition knows it too. They know it too. And yeah, I'm competitive. Not down to the dollars, it's down to reputation. It's down to integrity, you see? And I have 3 kids that I'm proud of because they have good reputations. That's all because of generational shaping of doing the right thing and being a person of integrity, having faith, honoring the 10 Commandments, honoring the generations of healthy conduct, behavior, doing the right thing. Sure, we make mistakes. Sure, people make mistakes. We're flawed, but you know what? It's working out. So anyway, you'll be hearing more about the deal flow guy and how I'm making things happen. So God bless you, everybody. I'll talk to you soon. This is LaManna. I'm on live, and I could use more subscribers. I talk about aging. I talk about careers. I talk about picking the right horse. I talk about fitness as you get older and moderation. I mean, I got a role model. My mom was 94 when she passed with no disease, had her mind. My father's 100, still rocking and rolling. You see? So, subscribers help, sharing helps, and just being honest. Just being honest about your life. I mean, there's a lot of people out of work. I talk about blue-collar millionaires because there's a lot of hard-working people that are millionaires. There's probably more, or at least 50% blue-collar. The millionaire next door, well, guess what? USPS, there's millionaires. Mailmen that I know. My buddies worked hard 30, 40 years for the city and the government. Save the buck. Live amongst their means. They did all the right things, you know? No regrets. And the kids, it's always good to have good kids and shape the kids with discipline, respect. And that's what my parents did with faith and family. And we call it food because we'd always be at the table breaking bread. Always together on Sundays. An Italian feast. Holidays. It was all family. You see? And we had a family business. wasn't easy. Eventually, like my father would say, everything comes to an end, even life. So anyway, we'll talk to you again soon. God bless you. This is LaManna. Talk to you soon, very soon.